Hello and welcome. I figured I'd give you more understanding here, all right? Because I don't know if anybody's really understanding what I've been saying for a year now. I'm seeing most of these YouTube channels are just now saying they think that the sun is heating up the core of the earth. They're just now coming up with this analogy. I did this a year ago. If you go back to the beginning of my YouTube history, about the fourth or fifth video in, I'm outside explaining what the sun is doing to the earth and what effects it's going to have on the earth. And I even tell you by June and July of 2018 where we would be and how much it would have progressed with the earthquakes, what magnitudes they would be, the volcanoes erupting and cracks in the earth. I've completely said this a year ago when I first even mentioned it, all right? And I'm sure, I'm not, it doesn't matter to me who did it first. But I would like to make it known in my documentation process here that I have done a video a year ago explaining where we would be at this year by June. And we're exactly where I said we would be on all the levels that I said we would be on. Now, for all of you who don't know what the word chasms means, chasms will open up in many places. Well, chasm. Deep fissures in the earth, rock, or another surface. Gorges, abyss, canyon, ravine, gully, gulf, defile. I'm not even going to call your crevices. Fissure. Fissure. There's the word that I'm looking for. Fissure is within chasm. Well, we see those are fissures, all right? So fissures will open up in many places, or cracks will open up in many places, okay? Now, it goes right along with this one. But in order for you to understand what's going on, now I've explained this. The sun, when it shoots off coronal mass ejections to the earth and coronal holes are facing the earth, radiation is spewing into the earth. Our ozone hole is opening back up. All right, we're getting UVC, UVB rays. We're not supposed to get UVC rays on the surface. But I've used the definition about microwave many, many times. And now people are starting to use, which is okay, I don't care, but it's the first time that people are actually using the analogy that I used a year ago about the sun treating the earth like a microwave does with its food. Okay? Microwave radiation uses high frequency waves which penetrate inside the food. Okay? And agitate the water molecules. Well, in this case, the sun's rays, the radiation, are exciting the lava core. You see? And it's agitating its molecules. And it's causing gases and friction, which in turn increases the temperature and results in cooking. So, I hope you can understand what I'm saying to you. Now, as far as the loud booms inside the earth, ladies and gentlemen, that people are reporting all around the world, or at least here in the United States, from my knowledge, I need you to think about this. Just really, really give it some thought. Okay? You have a crevice in the earth. Imagine like a cave-like structure, miles beneath the earth's surface. Let's just say underneath the earth's foundation, the bottom of the earth's foundation. Now you have this crevice, this little canyon full, maybe a quarter bit of water. Now that the earth is heating up, because that gully is closer to the surface, it's going to start evaporating the water. It's going to start heating it up to steam. And what happens with steam? It rises, right? So when the steam rises and it absorbs into the dirt up top, okay, in that big open canyon. And you know how dirt has rocks and everything else, and the dirt holds the rocks together, the clay holds the dirt and rocks together, whatever. Well, if it becomes too moist and the heat from it will penetrate it, what happens is it starts to get heavy and little pieces of mud start dripping off, kind of like melting ice. All right. What ends up happening is eventually, once it gets so full of moisture and there's a huge enough rock in there or whatever, it rips off the ceiling. It falls off the ceiling, so to say, of this canyon. And it falls for who knows how long, maybe a mile, maybe a quarter mile. And it's building up speed as it's falling. And now remember, this is like a speaker box. It's enclosed. It's got very few water veins that go in there, or the water settles into the canyon, okay? Now, when the top of the dirt from the inside of the canyon crashes down, it hits the ground. Boom! And it causes the earth to shake and sound like an explosion in there. Now, also, you have gas pressure that's building up underneath the crust. Okay? Not just the heating up of the moisture of the water and making this happen, which is called deterioration. Okay? You also have stress booms, which are stress fractures from gas releasing from this lava core. Now, none of the Earth's surface is safe from lava. There are many hidden volcanoes in the United States and around the rest of the world that people don't even realize are there. Okay? Because we know very little about our Earth. But I want to make it very apparent to you. It's not the drilling. It's not the hydrofracking. It's not the offshore or onshore oil wells that are doing this. Absolutely not. It's not aliens moving around underneath ground or big giant worms and stuff moving around underneath the surface. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Are there things inside the earth that we don't know about yet? Sure there is. And you're going to find out very shortly. Now, I'm not here to try to fear porn you. I'm here to give you the truth. I'm here to prepare you for what's to come. Because when you're prepared, you don't have... It's not like, you know, what's going on in Brazil right now with the gas here. They're being tested. It's a big thing. The government over there is testing to see how people will react to this. All right? Oh, God, how do I say this, okay? They're trapping in the heat. They're trapping in the greenhouse effect, the gases inside the Earth's atmosphere when they create these chemtrails. Now, I want people to realize something, okay? Because what ends up happening is the more that it gets hit with radiation, starts to do this. It starts to come out because it can't stay in no more. These are the birthing pains. Do you understand that? Birthing pains. When God said new heaven and a new earth, he wasn't talking about because the first Earth's oceans passed away. Yeah, they're going to boil away. But what God clarifies later on is all those who endure tribulation until the end will have a new heaven and a new earth. And what he means by that, see, he clearly states that after the water boils away and the new land is created by this lava and everything, it's going to cover the whole earth. Whoever survives this, which is fairly simple to know how to survive something like this, because the lava is only going to come up through the cracks. It's not going to come up through all of the ground. So, just like Noah built the boat to float because water falls, well, heat rises. Water falls, heat rises. So water falls, Noah built the boat to float on top. Heat rises, we got to go underneath. So when the lava comes to the surface, you got to go into, I don't know, maybe these empty canyons underground and hope that maybe it doesn't collapse in on you. You know, that's what the bunkers are for. But now, guys, I want you to know that when you have these giant openings inside the earth, not cracks, but like I said, these craters in the earth inside, like these domed off things, with all this open space but a little bit of water, and you got the land falling in. Well, how do you... I was just about to swear and I caught myself. Very good. Thank you, Lord. Because I don't want to offend any of my viewers. You know, I've been working very hard to try to change a few things. Now, I want you to think about this. Sinkholes. How do you think they're formed? Because the open land underneath that's miles down, or maybe a mile down, or a couple 100 feet down, that has water in it. And when the land is eaten away by the moisture underneath, eventually the top part of the land is going to collapse in on itself because there's nothing left to hold it. And when it collapses in on itself, it crashes down into the water. And what happens with anything, like a cup? Take some rocks and put it in a cup full of water, or halfway full of water. Fill it up with dirt and rocks. And see if that water doesn't come up to the surface. Well, that's exactly what it does. When all that land falls down in, it pushes the water up. You see? The water's got to go someplace to compensate for all that stuff that just went down. So the water's going to go above all that land. So that's why they always see a swirl of water or a pool of water inside these sinkholes. Now, what ends up happening is the water sinks back down in. It recedes back down in, and it fills into that dirt that went into the earth. So really, the earth is eating itself. It's cracking open, expanding because of the gases, but at the same time, the lava is eating away at the earth's crust underneath. And what it's doing is it's compacting all that land into liquid. Now, we all know that when something is put into a liquid form, it could be consolidated more and it takes up less space. I want to explain this to you just right. I don't want to screw this up. Compensation pretty much is the word that you got to use for this. Compensate. If the land is caving in a certain areas, doesn't that mean that something's eating away at it underneath that? Something's got to cause that. Erosion, water erosion, but the heat from the lava is what's doing it. So yes, our oceans will boil. The methane that's coming out, which in Hawaii, that's not the only place it's going to start. It's the starting point for that, but everything has a starting point. Hawaii is the starting point, because if you look at the Ring of Fire, and you look at all that open ocean, at one point in time, a long time ago, when the dinosaurs roamed the earth, that is where the impact happened. That is where all the land mass met, and they all were together, connected as one. When that fireball, that meteor, or that asteroid came down and crashed into the earth and wiped out the dinosaurs, it was a big, hot ball of liquid that inserted itself into the earth, along with what we already got. You see? It grew. I don't care how many scenarios you want to put it. There's only one correct aspect, and that's the sun going inside the earth. Its rays. Think of the sun as being the microwave, and think of the earth as the food being hit by the microwaves, the radiation from the sun. You understand that? Guys, I don't know what more I can tell you. Let's get into the Black Knight satellite real quick. If there's still people that watch this video all the way to the end, which Not a lot of people watch the videos to the end anymore on anybody's channel, really. They watch the first 2 minutes of it. If they don't get what they need in 2 minutes, they exit out. But pretty much you can get what you need in the first 2 minutes of any video. I don't need to sit there and listen to people's explanations. I just need to hear the first 2 to 5 minutes of their video, no matter how long it is, and I know exactly where they're going with it. So, Black Knight Satellite. I noticed there was a verse that said, knowledge will go into hiding. Knowledge will hide itself. Okay, well, I believe, I'm not certain, but I believe that the Black Knight Satellite houses these entities that we are calling artificial intelligence. I believe that this advanced race that has always been on the earth since whenever has uploaded their consciousness into this Black Knight satellite floating around in space, because they knew of the disasters that were going to unfold on the Earth's surface, and they knew that they could not be on the Earth's surface because God said there would be no place to run. He said you would run from the south to the north, from the north to the south, and from the west to the east and the east to the west, but you will find no spot of safety, none whatsoever. He says the whole earth is going to go by fire. Now, these things already knew this. These artificial intelligence entities already knew that. And now they've been up there for what, almost 1,000 years? Almost 1,000 years? They were the Egyptians, whoever these beings were. You wonder where the technology went from the pyramids and all that shit? It was well hidden. And it's probably floating around out there, around our Earth, along with that Black Knight satellite. But they knew that there would be a civilization eventually that would muster up on the Earth. They knew that there would be a civilization that would become advanced enough later on down the road, over centuries of evolving. And they knew eventually that we would create a technology based off of what we found in the Earth that's always been here. You know, people are making it out to be like these UFOs are coming from outer space, from other solar systems and dimensions. Excuse me. You can't leave the Earth. What is it you don't understand? You can't leave the Earth. You cannot go past the dome. Okay? Now, anything outside the dome, there is a way out, but I'm not going to clarify that right now. I clarified it in my other videos. If you guys hadn't seen my other videos, go check it out. I tell you the way out. And there's a couple of them. But it's only for people who have wisdom. Okay? God clearly tells you, the Bible is a manual. It's basic instructions before leaving Earth. Okay? Before you can even venture outside that dome, you have to know everything that consists of and what weather patterns you have to go through in certain territories to even reach this place. All right? And we should know because Admiral Byrd did the Operation High Jump. He made it and came back. There are advanced civilizations out there. But the one that's the fallen one, the bad ones, are the ones that are in the Black Knight satellite. They're the artificial intelligence, and we've been receiving signals from them. Where do you think D-Wave come from? Why do you think McDonald's signs are turning black with the yellow M on it? Why do you think Starbucks signs are turning black and the words are turning black? Or the backgrounds are turning black? Why do you think the Cube of Mecca has the black stone in it? I mean, people really got to put 2 and 2 together, you know. But in the Bible, it does say, I'll give you a quick tip. It does say that the man peeked beyond the dome and saw what was on the outside that couldn't be visualized from the inside, because the dome is kind of like how she say it? Right? It's it's not a physical property. It's not something that you can touch. It's something that's just there, like a hazy cloud. Just like I showed you where the oceans are two different colors and they don't mix. They don't mix. But there's a line there. You can clearly see a line dividing the two waters, keeping them from mixing. And God said that He put a firmament in the midst of the waters to separate one body of water from the other. It's not that hard to understand these things, you know. This insight goes deep. I mean, I'm connected to this source. I know what they look like. I know what their original form was. And everybody's right on cue. Everybody is saying it, but they're not connecting it. These little grays that you're seeing that they're reporting, these little grays, they knew that they had to get out. They knew that they had to get off the Earth's surface. A few of them didn't download their consciousness. A few of them stayed flying around up there. Unfortunately, their race is already dying off as it is because they have no reproduction. They don't have crotch. You see, they don't have reproduction organs. They don't have that thing. I know a lot about these creatures, and they are human-like in every way, but they're more advanced. See, they could do things we cannot physically. But they know that we are a very powerful species in the mind. They know that our mind is capable of doing a lot more than what it's doing now. It's capable of levitation. It's capable of reading minds. It's capable of throwing thoughts. It's capable of healing people. It's capable of doing a lot of things. Disappearing and reappearing in another spot. We are only scratching the surface. You see? Like I said, the Bible is a complete instruction manual. From the day that the earth was created, how the light was created, what was there before, what the earth looks like, what the body is, how the body was created. The light is the lamp, and the lamp is the light of the body. And God tells you, and Jacob tells you, named this place the Peniel, the face of God. To see God face to face and yet to live, to tell about it. Because he was brought up in an outer body experience. And if you want to know how to be able to have this outer body experience like I have had, I mean, when you first start doing it, everything's very clear. And the information is so sophisticated, but yet it's so easy to understand. But it's sophisticated enough to where you can't tell people exactly how you want to tell people or show people exactly how you want to show people, because the diagrams that you see and the things that you're shown by the Father are so much to comprehend. But it's at that point you can comprehend it all, and at this point you can comprehend it all. But to make somebody else be able to comprehend it, they're not going to understand what you're talking about. You have to start off with basics, ABCs. Well, here's your fucking ABCs. Excuse my language. Here's your fucking ABCs right here. I'm going to say it again. Here's your fucking ABCs right here. There's no excuse for my language. I apologize, but take a look. I mean, come on. Let's get real, man. This is only one piece. One piece. Look at how many cracks there are. Texas, Ohio, Oklahoma, up there in Yellowstone. And that's just the United States, a few places. We got Florida sinkholes going on. We got, and Florida sinkholes is because of water erosion underneath the land. All right. And you've got Africa, Kenya. They're still cracking open. They're giving a bullshit lie saying 100,000 years or 10,000 years or 1,000 years from now that won't crack off and break off. Bullshit. Bullshit. By 2019, you're going to see Kenya in complete distress and millions dead. And before that happens, you're going to see the slip of the landmass where all the fissures are in Hawaii. And that whole shelf where that massive line of fissures are, it's going to slide into the ocean because it's already showing signs of it tilting downward and upward where the cracks are, getting ready to slide off any time now. And when that happens, ladies and gentlemen, let me repeat myself, when that happens, it's going to send a tidal wave 100 feet tall to California and that whole west coast. And let me tell you what's going to happen after that. It's going to be a fucking domino chain reaction. When that water washes up on the land, it's going to pretty much wash everything inland and then wash it back out to sea. It's going to be a lot of death. And then, because of the weight of the water on top of the surface of California, it's going to cause earthquakes to happen, and it's going to cause the land to weigh down. And then we're going to get big major earthquakes like 9-pointers, 8-pointers, and it's going to finish off the job right there at the San Andreas Rift Zone. And that land is going to go into the water, and it's going to create another tsunami going back the other way. It's going to be like tit for tat, tit for tat. You understand what I'm saying? Until the land is strong enough to where when the water washes back up on, it doesn't break off any more land. But what's going to happen is, what happens when waves slam the coast? It erodes. The dirt falls in. And before you know it, you got 100-foot tall cliffs where you can stare straight down. It's as flat as a board on the side. From what used to be an extended, beautiful piece, now people's houses are falling in. Well, that's exactly the same thing that's going to happen. Hawaii's landmass is going to fall in, send a wave to California. California's water is going to recede, the landmass is going to fall in, it's going to send an even bigger wave back to Hawaii. And that wave is going to wash right up on, it's going to be double the size of the 100-foot, it's going to be evenly 200 feet easy. And it's going to wash up on. And then guess what's going to happen? Kablooey! It's going to activate the rest of the volcanoes to explode on the island. Because the water is pretty much going to wash all the way across the whole island. And whatever may be open for fissures or whatever, that water is going to go down there. It's going to create a big explosions across all of the islands. And it's going to work like a domino effect all the way. I hope you understand that. You know, where I'm at right now in New York is probably the safest place in the world. We're the only place in the world right now that's not having that wild animal behavior. And I'm going to tell you this. If you're in a location with wild animals that are doing these strange animal behaviors, get the fuck away from there. Get out of there. If you're in a land that has sinkholes, get the fuck out of there. Go far away from it. If you're in a land where cracks are opening up, get the fuck out of there. Go away from it. Do you understand what I'm saying to you now? You want to be in a place that's not suffering anything. And I happen to be in just the right spot. It's almost like God put me here on purpose. Because he did. You know, there's no almost about it. It's a he did factor. Because we don't see major disasters here. We see minimum to nothing. We have normal winters, normal summers. The only thing that we see here is the chemtrails where I'm at. You know, and maybe some odd colored skies. But I noticed this part of New York isn't being affected. So I'm good. I don't know about y'all, man. If you guys are having these fucking problems, you guys got to get out of where you're at. You guys can continue to wait around, thinking everything's going to be fine. But didn't God tell you not to attach yourself to earthly things or material possessions? People down there in Hawaii are trying to go back to their houses, even though they're being told not to. I don't want to get into this anymore. I gave you what you needed to know a year ago, where we were going to be from there. It's exactly what I said to the T. Now, I don't see how anybody can ultimately predict several events like I did by the time June got here. But I did, on all levels: earthquakes, fissures, volcanoes, sinkholes, you name it. And I even mentioned about the animals were going to start acting strange because they warn you before all these major disasters happen. So, yes, we have movement under the ground, you know. So, yeah, we got to get ready for something to happen here in the United States of America very shortly. I'd like to say by anywhere between June 1st and June 30th, we're going to see some disasters right here in America. And I'm not talking about the Gulf of Mexico with the hurricane that's coming in right now. All right? If you look at that, it's the very same, and I mean very same. It's just the image of Planet X being cast into the clouds as it goes by, but this time it's been moved over to the left into the center of the United States. In 2012, like MRMBB 333 said, it was to the right of the Gulf and it was going up the East Coast. This time it's the very same hurricane, Sandy, very same, but just moved over to the left into the Gulf. It's starting in the Gulf, but this time instead of going to the right, it's going straight up because that's its path now, because that's where Planet X is over America at that point in time when it goes by. And it doesn't need Planet X to stay there above that spot for the storm to accelerate and become something. Nope. It just needs to be kickstarted. And when Planet X goes by, the clouds take the shape, that weird funky shape, with the planet-looking storm up front and the tail behind it. I don't know if people understand that, but all this is really due to Planet X. Now, Planet X, what it does is it's swiping energy from the sun. That's what it's doing. And it's weakening the sun as it's powering up off of our sun. And it's weakening our sun to where our sun is trying to disperse all the plasma around equally, but it can't. It can't because it's missing some. So it's forming at the same time that it forms, it's being eaten away on another part, maybe on the backside that we can't see. You know, why do you think they don't allow us to see the whole sun anymore? We used to be able to see all the way around it what was going on at all